You're locked in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogden.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Rebelpreneur Radio, the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I'm Ralph Brogden. You know, we spend a lot of time on the show talking about peak performance and success. And I've come to realize, and maybe you have too, that information is not enough. And really, motivation is not enough. We have to take our lives and our businesses beyond information and even beyond motivation and achieve transformation. And so my guest today is going to help you get there, because joining us today is America's #1 transformational speaker and trainer, Mr. Bearj Jehanian. Bearj, welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Thank you, Ralph. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be on with you today.
Well, it's really interesting and exciting to have you as well, and I can't wait to dig into your story. You used to be a high school band director, and at some point you made the decision that you wanted to become a professional speaker. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I sure did. You know, I was a high school band director right out of college, actually, and I felt when I began teaching that I was completely overmatched by my students. I sensed it from the beginning. I had the best, brightest, most active students in the entire school district. We had one of the best school districts in the area. So I was really challenged, not because I didn't have the same intelligence level as them, but because I didn't have the leadership skills that were necessary to be able to lead a group of people like that. I had to, after all, motivate them in a sense to buy into the band program and to be there for our intense rehearsal schedule and competition schedule. And I really didn't know how to do it at first until I was lucky enough to have one of the parents of a student come over to me, put his arm around me and said, you know what, here's a good book for you to read. If you check this book out, I think this might help you with the band. And I did. I took his advice. I read the book. It was a simple book. The 1 Minute Manager is what I read. And it helped me to learn how to talk with people instead of, interestingly enough, the 1 Minute Manager isn't as much about managing as it is about leadership. And I learned how to talk with my students in a better way. And from that point on, I gained a hunger and thirst for learning how to develop myself in a professional way and in a way that I could become more and lead my students. And it wasn't until one day that I saw Les Brown on TV one Sunday afternoon when I was flipping through channels. If you don't know who Les Brown is, check him out on YouTube. He's an absolutely amazing speaker.
Yes.
Probably one of the top motivational speakers in the world. And I saw him speak. And as soon as I saw him, I knew that is what I'm supposed to be doing. That's it. That's me right there on TV. I knew it. There was not a cell in my body that didn't know that in that moment.
Mm.
The problem is, like most entrepreneurs, like most business people, like most anyone, I didn't believe in myself yet. I didn't feel that I had the ability to do it yet. I didn't feel I had the connections. I didn't feel I had the knowledge. I didn't feel I had the background, and I didn't feel I had the connections. So instead of pursuing it then, what I did is I pursued becoming that for my students. And I became, I would say, a success coach for my students, and I use music as the vehicle to teach them to become successful. And it wasn't until about 6 years ago, Ralph, that a friend of mine whose office was next door to my classroom, when we were talking one day, he said, you know, you should be a motivational speaker. And when he said that to me, the hairs on the back of my neck stood straight up. A chill went up my spine because no one had ever said that to me before, and I had never shared with anyone my secret desire inside to be a motivational speaker. So when he said that, I thought, I've got to take action. And he invited me to speak. He taught night school at a local college, and he invited me to go speak there. I spoke there 4 different times. And from that point on, I decided I needed to pursue this as a career And 4 years ago, almost to the day, it's in about 2 weeks, it'll be the 4-year anniversary of when I literally walked away from my job and said, I'm going to become a speaker. I tell people that at that point, I jumped off the top of a skyscraper and decided to build my parachute on the way down.
What an amazing illustration of that leap of faith. Jump off the skyscraper and build your parachute on the way down.
Yeah, and at times I was actually yelling into the skyscraper. Does anyone have any material? Somebody help!
What a great analogy. So in 4 years, you have really, and this is what we're talking about, is transformational. You have really transformed yourself. You have shared the stage with people like Brendan Burchard and Jack Canfield. And in fact, I was watching an interview with you and Jack Canfield online, and he has described you as more than a motivational speaker. He says you are a transformational speaker. So tell us more about the distinctions there between motivation and transformation, and give us an idea of what you do and who you help.
Absolutely. I think the biggest difference is motivation. Zig Ziglar says motivation doesn't last. It's like bathing. That's why we recommend them both daily, right? And motivation comes from within us. And I think transformation adds another element to that. What transformation does is it shows you the path to get there. It helps you make that switch, because motivation is like eating. You eat when you're hungry. After a while, you're hungry again. But when you make a transformation, suddenly the way you look at everything changes. The way you behave, the way you act, the people you hang around with change. You have no desire any longer to be the old self. You are now the new self. You've made a big change in your life, so much that it's been a transformational experience for you. And that's what I seek to do for people who hear me when I give a talk or who I coach. I want to help them to make that shift in their attitude and their mindset, where they've made a decision to change from who they were to who they want to be. And I think, it's a lot like the experience that I had when I left my job and I forced myself to become something else. There was no choice. There's that story people talk about with burning the boats, right? Where you have no way to go back. And that's what I did, because I don't know if you know this, but when you teach, at least in the state of Pennsylvania, when you retire, you are not allowed to unretire. It's not like being a baseball player or a football player. And when I put the letter of intent to retire in the mailbox to the state, they were probably going to arrest me if I stuck my arm back inside there and pulled it back out. So I was forcing myself to change, to transform into somebody else. So because of that change that I had occur in my life, that transformation that I had, I want to share with other people how they can do the same thing. So I believe the biggest obstacle most entrepreneurs, business people, and really just anybody who wants something more out of life, the biggest obstacle that they have is that 6 inches between their two ears, that self-image that people have. And that's the thing that we've got to transform and change if we want to move forward. The problem is most people try to live life backwards. In my book, I talk about the 3 pillars of success in a specific order: believe, decide, and then act. The problem is, in our fast food society, most people want to act first. And if I get the results, then I'll believe it. Life doesn't work that way. Life just doesn't work that way unless it's the lottery, right?
Interesting. Yeah, and I can see that happening with a lot of people who they want to get warmth, and then they'll throw some logs on the fire. Or they want to get the big income, and then they'll give up everything and pursue their dream. But what you're saying is that it begins with the belief and the decision, and then the actions have to line up with that. And there are no shortcuts to success.
Absolutely. And I'm not by any means telling everyone else who's listening that what you need to do is quit your job and just pursue what you want. I was fortunate. I don't have a family. I don't have kids to feed. I don't have anyone else making the decisions except me. But And you've got to make sure, I had some money in the bank. I had some, ways and a means to get to where I wanted to go. So I'm not suggesting that, but what I am suggesting is you've got to clear up the issues inside your mind first, inside your head. The attitude has to change to one of believing you can have what it is that you want. And the word want is a very important word, not what you need, because we all need certain things, but we don't always want them. A lot of us need to be in better shape, but we don't necessarily want to take the actions necessary to do that. So what we need isn't always going to get us there. What we want is what we really need to follow.
And interesting. And as a marketing strategist, among other things, I spend a lot of time trying to counsel clients that people do not buy what they need. They buy what they want. And they will, for example, they need to lose 20 pounds and they need to exercise and eat healthy, but what they want is a pill. What they want is a quick solution. And so I think you were right on target with the belief. It begins with the belief and then the behavior follows the belief. And so what you're saying is we have to rewire our brains. We have to think differently. And in order to get that transformation, in order to get a different result, we have to not just do things differently, but we have to look at life differently.
That's correct. John Assaraf, who is one of the leading thought leaders on how the mind works, he talks about neuroplasticity. And what that means is it sounds like a really tough scientific term, but what it really means is we can, in essence, change our mind. It's really, that's all it's really about. And I want you to think about if you're at home and it's raining outside and water comes off your roof or it goes down your gutter and starts to pour out onto your lawn. Over time, it will start to cut a specific pathway. And every time it rains, that water will go the exact same way, no matter what, unless you go back and re-landscape. You dig up where you want the water to go instead, and you fill up where it was going, and you change the pathway, deliberately change the path. We can do the same thing with our thought patterns, where maybe before we always thought I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't strong enough, I wasn't tall enough, I wasn't born at the right time, I didn't meet the right people, I didn't have the proper teachers, I didn't have the right upbringing. We can change that thinking to, I can overcome those things. However, I can meet the right people. I can change how I feel about myself. I can learn how to. And we can change our thought patterns into believing in ourselves rather than looking at the reasons why. We can start to look for the reasons we can and find the solutions rather than always seeking out the problems.
Excellent. Now someone is listening to us right now talk, and I see them nodding their head in agreement. However, there's the and but, and that comes up.
There always is.
So, my question on behalf of our listeners is, what can someone who is in agreement with this, but what can they do to begin to see some immediate improvement? How do they change their thoughts? What is the first steps towards taking control of your mindset or changing your thought process, looking at life differently? How can they get started in this direction?
That's a great question. I love that question because that's one of the things that really help people to transform. Otherwise, I'm just motivating you to be excited about yourself, and that doesn't really get you very far, except until maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
So to get past tomorrow, to get past the week, the month, the year, you've got to dedicate yourself to a couple of things, and some really simple things. Grab a journal. This Christmas, ask Santa for a journal, or this New Year, pick up a journal someplace, a small little journal, something you can keep in your pocket, briefcase, or purse, or on your desk. And anytime something positive happens, anytime someone compliments you, anytime you do something nice for someone else, anytime something comes to mind where you think, wow, that was a success, that was a win, I want you to write it down in your journal. Write it down and keep that journal someplace so that every once in a while you pick that up. Maybe once a week you pick it up and look back at your week and see all the positive things that happen. So you begin to look at the positive aspects of who you are rather than the negative aspects of who you are. That's the first thing you can do. It's a great tool if you keep at it and do it consistently. Anything done consistently over time will change you. Just like a drop of water will dig through a granite rock eventually. It doesn't take a lot. It just takes persistence and time. The second thing I'd like your listeners to do is to write down a few things, a few affirmations, a few positive things about who you are in the future. But I want you to write them down in the present tense. Don't write them in the future tense, because the future tense is always tomorrow. For example, next week I will go on a diet. But when next week comes, your mind is still saying, next week I will go on a diet. That's what you've taught your mind to say, because our words are very powerful.
Yeah, you're kicking the can down the road all the time like that.
Exactly. And you might have conscious intentions to do it the following week, but your subconscious, which is what controls us and wants to keep us safe and wants to keep us from harm and wants to keep us in that place of comfort, will listen to the literal words in your mind, which are next week. So you want to be able to say things in the present tense. For example, you can say, on January 1st, I am a gym member and I am feeling good about myself. My clothes, on March 31st, 2018, my clothes fit comfortably. I feel good about going to the beach. I feel good about wearing a bathing suit that's 2 sizes smaller. I feel comfortable walking up and down the steps. I'm not winded. All of those things are present tense. You set a date on it, and they're in the present tense. And your mind, your subconscious, will automatically take you there if you religiously read that out loud to yourself, passionately, in the morning when you wake up, and then in the evening when you go to bed.
Interesting. I think that brings to mind a lot of the self-talk that has been put out by Dr. Shad Helmstetter. Maybe you've heard of him, but kind of the same idea that we have so many, and psychologists can't say for sure, but some estimate thousands of negative thoughts passing through our brain on any given day. And so what you're suggesting is we need to begin to turn the tide of negativity, that negative self-talk, and begin to program ourselves in a positive way. In other words, to be more mindful of the things that are going right, to be more mindful of the positive things in our life, and to focus more on who we want to be and not so much on the obstacles and the challenges and the problems that we may be facing.
Absolutely. And the reality is we cannot create a new beginning. That's impossible to do. I don't care who tells you you cannot create, you can't rewrite your history, but you can create a new ending. And by doing these things, by getting rid of or by rewriting the programming in your mind, you can get there. It takes time. It doesn't happen in a day, a week, a month. Now I'm 56 years old. The good news is, if I want to unlearn everything I learned in the previous 56 years, it doesn't take an additional 56 years to do that. If I make a consistent effort daily, I can do that in a few months to a couple of years and change how I feel about myself, and thereby begin to change my outlook, the decisions I make, and move forward to my destination rather than sitting in the same place all the time with the same input. The reality, Ralph, was we all have had people around us who say very good intentioned things, friends, neighbors, teachers, parents, who say things that they want to tell us to keep us safe, to keep us happy. But many times those well-intentioned things, those well-intentioned comments or words of advice actually end up being more harmful. A simple thing, a couple of weeks ago, I was at an event, and a gentleman that I met there, he's a speaker as well. We were talking about speaking, and he was saying how he wants to become more of a person who helps speakers get bookings. And my immediate reaction was, why would you want to do that? That's so much harder than being a speaker. And I thought, why am I telling this guy that he wants to do that? I should encourage him and be positive about it. I when the words came out of my mouth, all of a sudden I heard them in my head afterwards, and I thought, what in the world am I doing? But they were well-intentioned words. They weren't because I wanted to hold him back. I was just being well-meaning. And we all do that from time to time, and we need to understand that others are doing that, they believe, for us, but in many times they're doing that to us based on what we believe about ourselves, right? So we've got to almost create this Teflon coating around ourselves so those words bounce off of us, and the words that are positive and encouraging and move us forward and make us feel better about ourselves, make us feel we can achieve anything in the world that we set our mind to, that those are the words that get in.
Yeah, I like that. Kind of like a laughter defense against negative thoughts and other people, their opinions and their belief systems that they project. And instead of taking all of these things to heart and really getting blown away by them, we can just kind of shrug and laugh it off and say, well, we'll see about that. And then just go on writing the story and writing the script the way we want it to go, and not allowing other people to tell us and project their script and their story onto our experience.
And I love that word story because I use it all the time. First of all, stories are the most influential thing you can do for anyone, but it's also the most influential thing you can do for yourself. So when something bad happens in my life, or if I have a friend or a colleague or an acquaintance who has something bad happen in their life, my not necessarily in the moment, but my comment to them at some point will be, you know what, someday that's going to make a great story and it's going to help someone out. And it's true because, I hurt my leg about a year and a half ago doing a mud run. And there's a whole, I won't tell it now because we don't have the time, but there's a whole story attached to this change that happened in my career because of that injury. So that's not a bad thing. It hurt at the time. It felt bad at the time, but I turned it into something else. And it became a story that I tell when I speak now too. So we can take any bad thing and we can use that as a story to inspire other people, to inspire ourselves, and change it from something negative to something positive.
I like that. Now, you previously mentioned that you're in your mid 50s. I'm in my mid 40s, and
you don't need to brag about it.
Well, but a lot of people listening, they may question, am I able to change the way I am? Am I able to change my belief system? And one of the proverbial sayings that is not necessarily true, but you hear it repeated very often, that you can't teach a new dog or an old dog new tricks. And so the mindset is, well, it is what it is. I'm in my 40s, I'm in my 50s, or even in my 60s. Is it too late for me to change my beliefs and to really experience this transformation? My question is, how would someone like that really benefit by working with you?
Well, I'm going to go back to where we began our conversation today. Need versus want. If you need to change your attitude, your mindset, your outlook for yourself, you may not be successful. If you want to change your attitude, your mindset, your belief about yourself, then you can be successful. Then you can have whatever outcome it is that you want. But you've got to have that desire within first. The desire to have something has to be much greater than the negative things that will happen because of it. For example, when you change your attitude about life, you may need to change your circle of friends. You may need to hang out with a different circle of friends more, not give up your old friends, but not spend as much time with them. You may find that your old friends don't like where you're going. They may try to pull you back. They may say negative things about you. And until you're ready to say, I can deal with that, I need more for myself, more for my life. I don't live my life in this way to please my friends. They're not paying my bills. They're not putting the roof over my head. They're not paying for my children's education. They're not putting food on my table. When you can put your mind and wrap your mind around that, then you'll be able to move forward. And then you'll be able to start to make those changes and rewrite the old programming in your mind. If you're not sure it will work for you, then start with something like a simple affirmation, where each day when you wake up, you say something simple like, today I am going to say positive things to everyone I meet, and I am not going to let negative things affect me. Something simple like that, and say it in the morning and say it in the evening. Look at yourself in the mirror when you say it, in fact, so you can see yourself talking to yourself. And if you do that for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, just see if that begins to change who you are. Maybe you don't believe in the system yet, but you may want to say, all right, I'll try this for a little while. I don't like that word try a whole lot, but for some people, that helps them to buy into it a little bit. Try it out for a little while and see if it works for you.
Excellent. Now, you have a new book coming out soon, I understand. Tell us a little bit about that.
I do. It's my very first book. I'm excited about it because, heck, it's my first book, so I should be excited. If I'm not excited about that, I don't know what I should be excited about. Holy cow. But it's called Break Down the Walls to Success. You cannot get it on Amazon. I'm not putting it up on Amazon. I have no intention of doing that. There's only one way to do it. You've got to go to this website link. It's called successbook31.com. successbook31.com. The 31 stands for 31 simple steps to transform yourself and your career into the life you deserve, because we all deserve to have more. You know, it's funny. A lot of people have this opinion of themselves, like we were just talking about, based on the input they've had over their lifetime about what they deserve. But the reality is we were all born the same way, naked and crying, and everyone starts from the same place. No one waved a magic wand over anyone and said, this baby here deserves a life of wonder and amazement, and this baby over here deserves poverty and disappointment their whole lives. It comes down to the attitude that each of those babies, people, adults gain for themselves through the actions that they take and the interactions they have with others. And if you don't like the interactions you've had, create new ones. If the people around you aren't the right people, find new people around you. A friend of mine likes to say, if you can't change the people around you, you need to change the people around you.
I love that play on words there.
Yeah.
That's excellent advice. So, how can our listeners get in touch with you, find out more about your book? You mentioned successbook31.com. Is that the best way to reach you?
No, that's a place where you can go to pre-order my book right now. And what's great is this book it's not a book where you have to read from cover to cover. It's not one of those books. It's not a 300-page book. I never liked reading 300-page books, so I didn't write a 300-page book. This is half of that length. It's really simple to read. You can read whichever chapters you want in whichever order you want. You can read just what you want. There may be certain parts of the book that speak to you or speak to others. But if you go there, you can pre-order it around the end of January, beginning of February, as when I'll have it in hand to begin to ship out. But if people want to get in touch with me, they can go to two different places. You can go to my fan page on Facebook, which is bearjfan.com, and that's spelled B as in Bravo, EARJ, fan, FAN.com. And that will take you right to my Facebook page. I put quotes up there daily, several times a day. And it's a great community. I've got over 62,000 people on there now. So it's a great place to interact with other people too. I put videos up so you can connect with me there. You can even send me messages through there. Or you can go to my website, which is Bearj, BEARJ, speaks.com, bearjspeaks.com. And you can go there to learn a little bit more about me as well.
Excellent. And I like the premise of your success book, 31 chapters. That's roughly one per day. That's a simple way to start out.
I never even thought about that. You're a genius. I love that. Wow, I can't believe I missed that whole deal.
I thought you did that on purpose.
Not at all, but now I did.
Well, this has been really, really beyond motivational. It's been transformational. I think we've got some really good practical ideas and inspiration. Any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you'd like to leave us with today?
Absolutely. I think most people tend to attempt change for just a few days. And they all allow life to get in the way. They allow excuses to get in, and they start to say, yes, but, as you were saying earlier, yes, but you don't understand. I have these obstacles. I guarantee you that there are, no matter what obstacles you have, there is someone else who's got more challenging obstacles that they have overcome. I guarantee that's a fact. So forget about your problems. Focus on your solutions. Stop looking at your problems. Start getting what you want by focusing on what you want rather than what you don't want. A lot of people talk about leaving their comfort zone. I would prefer to talk about getting into your success zone, because your subconscious will take you where your words take you. They'll take you right back to your comfort zone if you talk about that place. So talk about your success zone. Take actions every day, even if they seem meaningless at the time. Keep taking those steps every single day, and over time, that change will occur for you.
Excellent. And you heard it from America's #1 transformational speaker and trainer, Bearj Jehanian. Check him out online at bearjfan.com, or check out his book at successbook31.com. Bearj, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks so much for your time today, and best of success to you and to your book.
Thank you, Ralph. The pleasure was mine.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogden. Download the show notes and much more at ralphbrogden.com.